Good evening. Welcome to Right Talk with Mike Lee. First of all, I have to apologize to my audience. I got the wrong hat on today. I usually have forgot my Kango, but I have my special hat that my brother Keevan gave me, and this is my Keevan hat. I had some attorney business to take care of today, and I got in a rush and forgot.
We'll
but
forgive you.
I can kind of dedicate the show to my brother Keevan because he claims to be an independent, but he hates Trump and all that. He probably votes Democrats and all that. I had a Hillary for Prison t-shirt on at a bar one time with him. He told me I couldn't wear that, but of course I wore it anyway. But anyway, Keevan, this is especially for you. My guests are Brittany Green on my left and Heather Gardner on my right. And we're going to talk about something this evening that's dear to me. My guest I had planned on, Claire Colwell. I'm going to get on at some point. She's a real abortion story, for real. of a real survivor. And I think that it's important to know that what abortion is and what abortion does and what it means. It's something that's much discussed now. And a couple of years ago, I remember first hearing about a heartbeat bill in Missouri somewhere. And now there are heartbeat bills all over the place, as far as I know, as far as I can tell. And it's kind of brought the abortion issue to a head and to focus, really, because I think previously it had no focus. Now, Brittany, what's your involvement with this not anti-abortion movement, the common sense movement, so to speak? Because to me, abortion is like the holy grail of judicial activism and liberalism. And it seems to me as though politicians, especially the ones who happen to be African American, pledge allegiance to the Planned Parenthood. It's the first move they do. And when they have Supreme Court nominations, it's all about, are you gonna reverse Roe v. Wade? It's as though abortion is to them as the cross is to Christians.
Absolutely.
Now, we came into contact as a result of was it Pflugerville? It was a banquet I went to somewhere that Anthony Wynn or Kevin Packham, he told me about. What was that banquet?
You came to our Love Outrageously banquet that we had back in April, and Candace Payne was our guest speaker.
She was funny as hell.
She's incredibly funny. She was a great speaker. I think just set everyone on fire, whether or not they came with a heart for God or just to hear a general message. She was incredibly motivating to everybody.
And how did you get wrapped up in this, Heather?
Well, actually, kicking and screaming. I didn't.
Really?
Not with the banquet. With the movement. I started as a college student, volunteer with the Brazos Valley Coalition for Life, and eventually started working full time for them, and then transferred here. So now I serve as the director for the Central Texas Coalition for Life.
What college was that that you attended?
Texas A&M University.
A&M?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you're Aggie.
That's right.
I'm a Mustang.
Okay. Here you go.
That's okay. But abortion. Let's talk about actually what it is. It's to me, it's kind of like a no-brainer. You're killing a person.
Right.
It's a person. Now, I've had a friend in Ohio who has since unfriended me. Celeste. She's a nurse, and she referred to a baby as a fetus, and to me that like depersonalizes it. Call it anything, but to me it's a lot of it revolves around how you characterize it to some people. But to me it's really simple. It's a person.
Right. Well, the use of the term fetus is actually not incorrect. However, like you said, that seems to have become, over the decades, a way for many pro-abortion, especially medical professionals, to depersonalize. But they are starting to see that the public is gaining more and more knowledge about stages of development, including what a fetus is, and really that's just another stage of life. So abortion facilities are actually starting to stray away from the word fetus because even that has become too humanizing now.
Now I wouldn't advocate that anyone be a one-issue person as far as politics goes. But to me, in the African American community, if you realize that abortion disproportionately affects you, and your numbers are dwindling
Right.
because of it, support of it, it's like you're supporting the genocide of your own people, which is insane to me.
I honestly don't think that very many African Americans know. I don't think there's still a lot of Black Americans in our nation that do not have any clue as to the history of the racist roots of the abortion industry. I really think because when you bring that information to people, even white people, Black people, just anybody, most people are in disbelief of it, and then some people are in outright denial of it. But I think when people do come to the realization, they realize it's not an industry that you can support.
I know I had pulled up because I had a couple of videos that I had collected over several months, and in some of the videos they showed where people from Planned Parenthood were talking about actually harvesting and selling body parts.
Right. And it's amazing to me that nobody wants to believe that. And I'm trying to think where it was, but recently there was an article that came out. It was, I think, Heather, correct me if you know, but research that was being done by a university on baby body parts. And the university, pretty much in this article, had expressed that yes, they acquire these body parts for research.
Yeah, there's been several. There's when the videos that you're alluding to came out. I mean, several came out years ago, even before 2015. But the big scandal that was revealed was the string of videos that came out in 2015 from the Center for Medical Progress, and those actually prompted a lot of cases in different states to investigate the different Planned Parenthood affiliates. And I know that several universities were on that list, including in Texas. There were some universities that they were investigating because of their relation to that.
Well, let me ask you this, Heather. At A&M, while you were at A&M, your interest being what they are what they were. When you've been kind of not so popular on campus for that?
Yeah, the campus, the student body was quite a mixture there. We had a lot of pro-life students. We had a lot of Christian students, and I know that not all people who identify as Christian also identify as pro-life, but we had a lot of pro-life Christian and also pro-life secular people. But anytime we would have any sort of display on campus, such as facts about fetal development or facts about Planned Parenthood or facts about other places in the community that were available for women, there would, inevitably be people that would either come to counter protest or they would just individually walk up and not too many dialogues happened. There was just a lot of mudslinging, but there were a few occasional dialogues that would happen. So I think you would find that on almost any college campus, even a Christian, very highly devout Christian campus. You're going to find that pretty much anywhere you go.
I attended a private Christian college, and I haven't been there in decades, but I may be visiting there sometime in the not too distant future. And I'm interested to see what the atmosphere is like, because I really hadn't been on a campus. When I was in law school at SMU, you weren't really on a campus. You weren't in the law school section of the place. You didn't go anyplace else, not by and large. But we didn't interact with the undergraduate students. At least I didn't. I didn't have time for that. But so, Brittany, where do you see things going? How do you think it's going to go?
I think we're starting to see a cultural shift, and it's becoming very divided. You're either pro-abortion or you're pro-life. I think the pro-abortion side is becoming fearful of the pro-life side. I think there's enough evidence. Most people, if they say they believe in science, then science says or life begins at conception. And so how do you deny that? An email that I got recently about a post that we put on our Facebook page, she claimed that her beliefs were Jewish and that in the Jewish culture, life begins when that baby exits the womb and takes that first breath. Now, to me, that's silly, because I know what science says.
Now some people are so extreme that they think that abortion after a child leaves the womb is cool.
Yeah.
To me, that's just straight murder.
Well, it is. I mean,
Yeah.
that is still considered murder in our country. But now, obviously, they're shifting more and more radical. I know this sounds, to some people it may sound shocking, but I at least give them credit for being consistent, because I always thought that if you're okay with the slaughter of a child, at 5, 6, 7, 8 months, then what really is the difference at 10 months, a month after birth? And I know that there are some very well-renowned atheists such as Richard Dawkins and Peter Singer who have, I believe it was Peter Singer I read about several years ago, who very vehemently expressed that parents should have the right to get rid of their child even as a toddler. That really, really, really people don't have value until they are at the age of reason.
But the dogs and cats have value.
Right,
Absolutely.
exactly.
That's what gets me, Oh, the poor animal, send Mike Vick to prison.
Yeah.
For what he does to dogs. What we do to humans is cool.
Right. A lot of inconsistency. Even in our own laws, we have, for instance, in Texas, it's legal to kill a child up to 20 weeks in the womb. However, a woman who is 20 weeks pregnant that is killed in a car accident because of a drunk driver, that drunk driver would be charged with 2 murders if both
Right.
the child and the mother died.
It's like they want to have both ways.
Right. It's very inconsistent. It makes no sense. Why be killed? Why be tried for 2 murders at that point? If we're going to allow her to, at the same time, she could go, down the block to an abortionist, and that abortionist could legally kill her child. And it's a gruesome procedure, no matter what.
Did you see recently, I think it was yesterday, Gnarl posted something about how they practice abortions on a papaya fruit?
Yes. Yeah, I did see
I
that.
mean, that's how insensitive we're becoming.
Right. Yeah.
A papaya, how funny to them.
And to me, that's got to have some psychological impact on the woman.
Right.
It has to.
Well, and we see post-abortion women. We had 4 women this kind of within the last year come through and do a post-abortion study, and I participated because I wanted to know from a post-abortion woman's viewpoint, what is it like and what do they go through during, afterwards. Some of these women, it had been 25, even 40 years, and they're still grieving that, and they're having a hard time even finding healing because they don't want to allow themselves to heal. It's almost like the pain has become so normal, they don't know how to be without that pain. But they're asking for help.
But save the pigeons and save the insects, right? Kill the people, save the animals. I wonder sometimes what kind of world am I in?
You know what? Speaking of that, I remember when President Obama was in office and he, on camera, had swatted at a fly and had killed a fly. And you think this is something you'd read on, The Onion or Babylon Bee or something, but PETA actually, politely reminded the president that wasn't okay to kill the fly.
To kill a fly.
Yeah.
But it's okay to kill a person.
Yeah.
Or in New
please
York, you
allow
can't declaw your cat anymore.
Right.
That's inhumane, or not inhumane, but for
Right.
an animal.
Right. Well, it is inhumane according to them. They use that term for animals.
There's a video.
And we should be against animal cruelty and different things like that, but obviously not above humans.
There's a video out called Mile for 21. Have you ever seen that?
Oh yes, I've seen it.
Have you seen that, Brittany?
Yes.
What'd you think of it?
Very eye-opening. I think if people saw it, I think they would finally believe what Planned Parenthood is all about and how they were started. It's sad. We're talking about erasing races, but yet we're always crying, Black Lives Matter, what's going on at the border, what's happening with all the Hispanics coming in. Not that we don't want to help those people. Absolutely we want to help those people, but why are we picking a certain race over somebody else?
Right. I thought the movie was really well done. I like that it's many African American leaders who helped to put on and create this film, showing the research that they did that clearly gives a path from the beginnings of it even goes so far back to slavery in our nation's history, and it traces all that route all the way to today. I always do give a disclaimer about the film. They do try to they basically try to say that people who work in the abortion industry today are racist. I don't believe that that's the case overall. I believe, especially after knowing many people who used to work in the abortion industry, that they got into it because they were duped into believing that they really were going to help women, that they bought the lies. But many of them there are of ethnic minority themselves, so they're not in it to rid our society of certain races. However, what they are trained to do is get money. So in that film, it shows people making phone calls trying to say that they want to donate to specifically kill a black baby. You can
Right,
hear the
yeah.
discomfort in the
Yes.
person on the other line's voice. You can hear the discomfort with that. Basically, I don't like that this person, what they're saying, but they're going to give us money, so I'm going to take it. I mean, you can tell that just by that. Not to say that no one in the abortion industry is racist, but I'm saying on that level, the clinic level, I think that's one important distinction to make, and that we should always be praying for them, because there are many of them who finally have their eyes open and they walk away from that because they see how awful it is.
Piggybacking on what you just mentioned, I think one of the most significant things that jumped out at me in video was at first Jesse Jackson said that abortion was genocide,
Yes.
and then when he became a presidential candidate and Planned Parenthood donated money to him, he became an advocate for them.
Yep. Yep, I remember that. I remember reading that early on. Very sad.
It's a shame.
confusing, and it's disheartening to understand how we got to a point where we have gone so far beyond our morals that it's just okay to kill babies. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
How did we get here? That's what sometimes I like, not that I lay in bed and think about it, but when I'm at work and meeting with moms who are, they're facing tough choices, how did we get here to where it's just no longer, it's not even a moral issue anymore. Forget your morals, forget that it's a baby.
Well, I think that's part of like a kind of a larger movement that we've kind of drifted away from God, let's say.
For sure.
Because God, according to some people, God can be a doorknob. I'd love to see a doorknob create anything.
Yeah. Right.
Anything.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's as though people worship themselves.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's
As though they're it.
we are made to worship something. So when we deny God, that's what happens. That's what starts happening, is we have to find something else to worship. So we worship maybe Satan, or we don't have any belief at all in a higher power, so we do start to worship
Well,
ourselves.
Chelsea Clinton says that Satanism is a legitimate thing.
Yeah.
I read that several months ago.
Yeah.
And this is the heir to the Clinton political dynasty, I guess, if one exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I see the shows on TV, they have all this vampire stuff, and my
Yes.
God,
Yeah.
it's like Halloween is now bigger than Christmas used to be.
Yes.
We cut our cable recently because I could not take any more of what I was seeing and what cultural influences are being pushed, even to my 5-year-old. Whether like maybe I'm watching a show and he's in the same room playing, he's hearing it, and I didn't want him to hear it anymore.
I grew up watching and hearing the Flintstones and things like that, and they're hearing all kind of foolishness out there now.
Yep.
Buffy the Vampire. I don't even know what's on TV anymore.
Yeah.
I watch the little courtroom shows and baby daddy shows, and then I'm done with it. Sports, and sometimes I haven't watched as much politics lately as I usually do. But it's heating up. It's getting to 2020. It's going to get to be fun.
Oh yeah, that's a word for it. Fun.
And that's why I know that one of these days I'm going to corral Claire if it takes me to judgment. Corral her to get on my show, because that's going to be an issue, I believe, in this election coming up.
Yes.
It's amazing to me that there are people that discredit her story as well as other abortion survivors, saying that that's not possible. And
That's not possible. And she's not here, right?
Yeah.
That's why I want to get on the show.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I was like, when I was at the banquet, and she's telling her story, and I realized, and she said she's an abortion survivor. I said, how do you survive abortion? It's right up there. They aborted her twin, but not her. They got one, but not the other one.
Right. Truly a miracle.
I mean, truly, I mean, for real.
Yeah.
I just want to sit next to her just to be close. Because I know God's in her place.
Yes.
It's all in her. He has to be.
Yes. And there's so many like her out there. You know that.
Really?
There really are. There's a network of it's called the Abortion Survivors Network. It was started by another friend of ours who is an abortion survivor. And when, just to clarify,
Here in
when
Texas?
not in Texas. No,
Okay.
she doesn't live in Texas. She lives in Kansas. And to clarify for the audience that when we say abortion survivor, we mean someone who actually their mother had an abortion and it was unsuccessful. We don't mean, everybody born after 1973 is an abortion survivor because you legally could have been aborted. That's not the same thing. And in fact, we really need to be careful, just as a movement with making sure that we make that distinction. But Melissa Oden is another abortion survivor. She survived a saline abortion in the 70s. It was supposed to scald and burn her to death, and miraculously, she was born at 7 months, and a nurse took care of her. Otherwise, she would have been left for dead. A nurse took care of her, and again, miraculously, there was no physical or mental problems with her body when there should have been with that kind of solution. So, but there's many of them out there, and I believe the network has, I think
I can't remember
200?
if it's I know it's over 200, but I can't remember if it's like over 250 now or if they're nearing 250. People that have come forward and have said like they actually survived their mother's abortion.
And they'll work with them to try to find, many of them have their medical records to prove. Some of them don't because it was too long ago for them to retrieve their medical records. But I mean, there are actual medical records out there for like Melissa Oden, for instance, to prove that is what happened. That it really is. She's not lying. She's not making the story up, and she does exist.
I sometimes, when I was in law school, I was in law school from 1974 to 77, and that's kind of when all this kind of stuff started cranking up real good. And there were some like militant girls at the law school. I think of Nancy Huggins in particular. I used to call her Nancy Equal Protection Huggins. You could be in contracts class talking about offering acceptance. Somehow equal protection sneaked in. But you're real militant with it. And it's like women's lib, To me, it's like almost as though women wanted to live like men. You can't do that.
Well, right. There is a difference, and that's a big problem with our societies. We're denying that there's a...
No, my baby brother is has a PhD in philosophy and adult education, and is a certified diversity expert, a certified insanity expert, as far as I'm concerned. He thinks, he's telling me, he says, you shouldn't ask a person what they are. You should ask them, who are you? I can see what you are. I'd have to ask who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And my wife and I went here in Austin. Saw this guy come in Austin, wearing high heels. He about 6'3", hairy legs, and with heels. God, come on, man. Really now.
Yeah. Yeah. It is something that is, it's only going to get to be a bigger problem because we're not understanding that we're not the same. We're not the same, but we are equal. And that's the problem, is people equate everything, that somebody can do, everything to their ability, that the other gender can do the exact same thing, and there is no difference, really, when we know good and well there is.
Well, the chickens are beginning to come home to roost, so to speak. There's been a lot of complaining about Title IX now, about it's because you have some confused men think they're girls, competing against girls and knocking them out of scholarships and things like that. And they're now beginning to say it's not fair to have them separate.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to have a male, female, and a confused role. Confused. Olympics for confused people. Olympics for women, Olympics for men. What's
I
going
think that
on?
all kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, that we have drifted away from God. Well, when we don't find our identity in God, then we start to get confused about our own identity.
We've drifted away from common sense.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, it's important for us to always encounter each person with whatever that they're dealing with, with charity. But like you said, we should have, well, common sense isn't really common anymore, but we should be able to speak the truth in love.
Well, common sense is now uncommon.
It's now uncommon, yeah. So, but even with what you think is a no-brainer for everybody to believe that the unborn are human and are worthy of value, it's that we shouldn't have to be making all the arguments that we're having and fighting so hard when we've seen this happen time and time again with different groups in our history. And now we're doing it again. We've seen this happen with dehumanization of Black Americans when they were shipped over here to be slaves. And then again in this, we saw that still with the civil rights movement. We saw that in the Holocaust. We see it in other genocides across the world. And we're in our own modern day genocide here. And it's like, how many times does this have to happen until we learn our lesson that you can't dehumanize one segment of the population?
Well, I guess in some quarters that those who share my beliefs, conservative beliefs, are not human.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be racist and this, and my brother tell me I'm brainwashed.
So my
Yeah.
son, who's 5, we were foster parents, and then we adopted him. And he hears lots of conversations around our house because I talk about what goes on at work. Like my husband's always curious, what do I do every day? Who are the people that are coming in that need help? So my son this morning found a button. It was from 40 Days for Life, and he wanted to wear it to school. And I said, do you know what that button says? And he said, no. And I said, pray to end abortion. And he's like, oh, what's abortion? I said, well, people believe that you should be able to kill a baby in your tummy. And he, at 5 years old, was appalled. I mean, he really was shocked. Like, people kill babies out of a mom's tummy? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Usually to most children that you say that to, they're going to have that. I mean, there's not a child yet that I don't know that hasn't had some sort of reaction like that.
Yeah.
So there's some humanity in the middle of us somewhere
Yeah. Right.
that somehow we have become sophisticated out of.
Right.
Become so sophisticated, so smart, so this, intelligent, whatever, that you can rationalize or justify anything, even if it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think people want to, our mainstream media is very good about directing the view in the way that they want everybody to see
It's wording.
the pro-life movement, right?
It's
So
language.
they're not going to they're not going to highlight the real help that's available with pro-life pregnancy centers such as Pflugerville Pregnancy Resource Center or any of the 23 that we have in our Central Texas area. That's not something that you're going to hear about very much, and that's not something that they want you to hear about. They don't want you to hear that there's real care. They don't want you to hear that there's also clinics that have free and reduced cost health care that women can go to that outnumber the abortion facilities quite a bit, that have more comprehensive services. And so I think it's important for us to, be the grassroots, to be the voice, to find, to keep our ear to the ground, to find out what's happening, what the opponents are saying, and always try to respond to that, with facts, with science, with love. And, if there ever is a problem where there's a population that's not being served, that are pregnant women, for instance, then we as a movement should be looking to address that. We should be trying to serve that. So I just think that we're not gonna find friends in very much of the mainstream media. However, I do have to say that I have met 2 reporters, one of them for BuzzFeed, and another for it's slipping my mind now who she's with, but they have actually been writing articles lately in the last couple of years of pro-life events that they've attended. They're pro-choice. They believe in abortion rights, as you call it, but they have been really open to actually looking to see what the movement is doing, because they know that the mainstream media is not going to be promoting that or covering that in any way, shape, or form, unless it's a way that they can skewer it to make us look bad. And so I find that refreshing. I think more journalists should be open to that and looking to see what really is going on, what services are out there. For us and my volunteers, we stand outside of abortion facilities peacefully to try to share this information with the women, because the majority of them that we talk to tell us that they don't know of other places they can go. I mean, it's in their mind, again, in much part thanks to the media, that this is the only place that they can go for health care, when we know it's not.
It's always been interesting to me in Austin that Planned Parenthood is right across the street from Houston-Tillotson.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and that's intentional, which we've learned about.
No, they'll say, well, it's because of the rent would not be as high, really. Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, there's, I mean, just like we learn in Alpha 21, there's strategic where they place their clinics. So.
It's a money thing,
Yes. Yeah.
for the most part.
And then you have nonprofits like ourselves who we want to see our moms get access to health care. We want them to see healthy pregnancies, long-term success in their parenting. And it is sad
They
that
gotta keep
we
you off the
be
radar
promoted.
screen.
Yeah. Yep. You know, Google is now suppressing advertising. If we were to advertise with Google, there's a likely chance that we would have to put a little disclaimer that says we do not provide abortions. Not that we're lying about our services. We're very upfront that we don't provide or refer for those, but now Google keeps throwing us down the list.
Okay.
And what
That's great.
business would you go to where they are forced to say, like, would you force Chick-fil-A to put signs up that say, we don't sell burgers here? We don't sell beef? Like, no. It's very skewered.
Think about how crazy things have gotten. Some years ago, there was I remember reading a story about somebody in California, Los Angeles somewhere, put a sign up saying, the Martians are coming and they're going to eat all the fat, they're going to take all the fat people first.
Oh,
And there's a big protest about it. You know, I say, anything, just anything. And it just seems that the thing to be now is anti something,
right. Yeah.
anti anything. Anything anti is, I guess, mainstream. So since we're not anti anything here, I guess we're not mainstream.
Well, they do like to paint us as anti-abortion rather than pro-life. The mainstream media tends to do that, which is fine with me. I'm both. I'm not just pro-birth. You know, I care about women and children during and beyond pregnancy, throughout all stages, and hope that they find want to help them to find a way to solve the problems that are, that they're facing.
It's so crazy because to me, when I was in law school, I remember reading one opinion about Justice Douglas was talking about the rights of trees or some mess, right?
Mm-hmm.
They talk about trees have rights, and humans inside another human human being don't have rights.
Was it
They have no
was it
rights.
Latin America or Asia? One of the countries had a law that was passed within the last 2 years that gave human rights to a river, to a body of water. Yeah, and I thought this has to be like something on The Onion or something. This can't be, and it was an actual. I wish I could remember which country that was in.
I don't even know what to say about that.
Yeah.
Human rights to a river.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, don't go into the river without asking permission first.
That is a whole, yeah. It's I wonder how they came up with any of that and what would be going against the
This is
river's
how
rights.
extreme we're getting. All it takes is one
Right.
person to do it, and
Right.
then everyone else catches on to
I want
it.
to see a river write a contract, sign a contract.
Yeah, right.
renting an apartment. Just crazy. It's just crazy.
So
But it-
recently we were just at a training, and one of the topics that just kept coming up for everybody was fear. And talking about how fear is one of the biggest motivators for someone to go and have an abortion. And it's interesting because when you hear, from what the media puts out about why women choose abortion, fear is never one of them.
Yeah.
But yet, after we left that training and I went back and thought about a lot of the abortion-minded clients that we had, or even abortion vulnerable, it always came back to fear of some kind. Fear of what is their life going to look like? How do they provide? Their parents are going to be so upset with them. I mean, there's just an array of things that we're fearing. And it's hard to get people to not focus on those fears.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why even now we're seeing so many post-abortive women, they're coming forward asking for healing, because there are places that are going to help them through that.
Because there's no real thought given to the after.
Well, you're told your problem's fixed.
Your problem, your killing of a human fixes a problem. Now, I guess the problem I have with it is this. If we're spiritual beings, then what's inside a person has a spirit.
Yeah.
And if allowed to develop as it would develop, it turn to a person with a spirit, with a soul or whatever. So to me, it's like abortions are aborting souls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There are angels coming down, but nah, you're not coming.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
God send this angel this way. Nah, I got this.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I know most of my good friends are Baptists. I'm a Church of Christ myself, but it's always amazing to me how African Americans go to church on Sunday and vote Democrat on the second Tuesday in November. That's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life.
Mm. Yeah.
And I don't know that they really, really get it. I got a good friend who's a judge in Tennessee, appeals court judge. And he pretty much a staunch Democrat. Went to Vanderbilt Law School, went to undergrad with me, bright guy. And, but, that thing now, hate Trump, tax returns. Trump has been trying to defund Planned Parenthood ever since he got in office. Mm-hmm. Didn't get all the way through yet. Been able to do it piecemeal.
Mm-hmm.
But they thought it was a terrible thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's doing something to try to preserve your people, but he's this great racist. Please, come on, give me a break.
I think the nice thing about Trump, whether you like him or you don't like him or you're on the fence about him, is people are waking up to what has been happening before Trump got in as president.
What do you mean, the beauty of the Obama years? Obama nation?
Well, and I think it's important to point out too with I mean, there's no denying that we have race problems in our country, but the sad thing is that there's so many people out there that want those problems to continue. They don't want to fix race relations. They want to keep this divide. They want people to hate each other, and that's really sad. And these problems didn't start in 2016.
But if you're profiting from the problem,
Yeah.
you don't want the problem to go away.
Right.
You
and
want
there
to
are
keep
people profiting from that, from abortion.
Now they're jumping on Trump about Baltimore.
Yes. Yeah.
And Baltimore is a mess.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I've driven to Baltimore myself, and when I drove in, I thought, this is the worst looking place I've seen in my life. It looks old and rusty, and the bridge going in looks bad. I don't even want to go there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. A friend of mine the other day said the same thing, and he didn't vote for Trump. He didn't like Trump, but he said what he said was true.
Well, the truth is not popular. It's out of style. It's not mainstream.
Right.
Lies are mainstream.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we can't even agree on definitions like what's a human. We can't agree on definitions like love. We can't agree on a lot of these things, even what the Bible teaches. And so, for a lot of pro-abortion Christians, the Bible is encouraging abortion, and in fact, it's a God-given thing. So when you can't even agree upon basic definitions to start from there to have a conversation, of course we're going to have things turned upside down in our societies the way that we do today.
I think what's interesting is from our perspective, when we look at just some of our statistics, 80% of our clients identify as Christian, whether that's Christian or Christian Catholic, 80%. And yet they still are living lifestyles that don't reflect Christianity. Or they're coming in and they're asking about abortion. Maybe they're abortion vulnerable. And the last thing they'll do is they'll turn to God. That's the last thing on the list. Because it's not cool to be a Christian anymore. And if you are a Christian, you got to get so far away from your beliefs that you have to fit the cultural norm.
Well, I was told by one of my college classmates that my being a conservative, that was not the norm. I said, well, I never claimed to be normal anyway. If using common sense is not the norm, I want to stay abnormal, or whatever. It just makes no sense to me. To me, it's like truth is unpopular and not mainstream. A lie is mainstream. I'm a guy. If I sit here and say I'm a girl, that's mainstream. A lie is mainstream nowadays. Maybe I'm probably oversimplifying it, but it just seems that way to me. And that is what is perpetrated. I just wish Trump would light up the White House with the American flag and take everybody out. He shouldn't do that. It offends me.
Yeah, that's a sad thing. Our own country's flag offends people in our country. I
Oh,
mean,
no.
that's just sad.
No, you have a rainbow flag, but you can't have an American flag.
Yeah.
My mom, she's from England, and she lived here for a very long time before she finally got her citizenship. And she said one of her proudest moments was going to that citizenship ceremony and becoming a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, I've known many immigrants that have come here and that say the same thing once they get their citizenship. It's just such an honor, and I think, well, I would hope so. I mean, why would people come here otherwise if you don't like it or you hate it or...
I always put it this way, ladies. Name me another country on the planet that people are breaking into.
I don't know, but then again, I'm not as well versed in foreign affairs, so...
I have not
I've
not heard of
either.
one.
I have not.
I mean, lots of people say Canada's great,
it
so
has-
I'm not sure why Canada's not having the problems we're having.
Right,
Yeah, free healthcare.
right.
What else do they offer for free on a taxpayer dollar?
It's those. I believe in, there's more to the Bible than help your brother. I think the first thing is help yourself. You can't help someone else if you're not taken care of. But it seems to me that there's a promotion of inferiority and victimization. I'm a victim. I'm a minority. Am I a victim because I have no hair? Most of the people in the country probably have hair on their head. I don't. So I guess I'm supposed to be upset.
That might be the next thing. You never know.
I don't have blonde hair, so I want your blonde hair.
Yeah, you're a victim.
So I'm going to take it because I don't have it.
It is sad. And to me, that really takes away from actual victims out there, especially when we talk about sexual assault and crimes, people who are actually victims of really horrendous things, men and women and children. But we want to now paint all these other things into the same category, such as, an unwanted kiss on the cheek is equated with, rape now in some, especially in some of the rules of college campuses, some of the college campuses, that's just sick. I mean, that's sick to a victim of rape. You know, it's discrediting that person whenever they want to make something like that equated with something so horrendous as an actual sexual assault. And but there's a lot of things like that, you know, going around, and that makes it harder to believe people a lot of times. And we certainly, you know, have a lot of work to do in our justice system with, you know, with punishing rapists and things like that. I mean, I've unfortunately known and had people come, you know, I've crossed paths with or come into my life that have been victims, and more often than not, they tend to not want to make a report. They don't want to report the person because they know that there's a good chance that they're going to be back out on the street the next day. They're just going to get a slap on the wrist, and they're going to do it again. And so they would rather them not go after them again. They would rather protect themselves. So then this person still getting away with all of this and most likely committing, you know, this crime over and over, because why not? You can get away with it. And, you know, I think there's just so many issues that are just so backwards and unaddressed that, or not properly addressed, that we have to work on.
I just can't get away from mainstream. Ever since the legal and voters said they weren't coming because we weren't mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if we were confused, we'd be mainstream, anti-something. I'm just anti-stupidity.
Mm. Yeah.
I have a real prejudice against ignorance.
I even appreciate people with differing views as long as they're willing to dialogue and be respectful. But
Tell me about it.
You don't find that very often anymore.
Especially when it comes to abortion, you are not going to have a civil conversation with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it even gets to a point where I'm so tired of talking about it, even online.
Well, especially online.
Because it's like, you're not going to see my viewpoint. I'm definitely not going to see yours.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have to agree to disagree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're not even willing to listen or to reason with science.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think is the strangest thing, is science is on our side, and yet people don't want to reason with that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a refusal to face truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to me, many things come down to what is true and what isn't.
Mm-hmm.
But according to my baby brother, you can have your own truth. Everyone can have their own truth. If everyone has their own truth, there can be you can't have society. If
There's
everyone
no
make their own
objective.
rules.
Yeah,
Everyone
there's
has
no
their own
objective.
rules.
Right. Right. Well, and do you ever notice that when talking about abortion, abortion proponents don't ever actually like to talk about abortion. They don't ever actually like to talk about what it actually is. It's all very sterilized terms.
Mm-hmm.
It all gets away from talking about the humanity of the baby or what
A
the
human.
actual procedure
human.
does to a child. Mm-hmm.
And if you ask someone who is an abortion proponent, it is very unlikely they can talk to you about abortion procedures and what they entail.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell someone you partial birth abortion, or tell them what it really is. You partially deliver the baby, crack its skull, suck out the brains, and then
Right.
tell them what it really is.
Right. Right.
Partial birth abortion. No, just tell them what it is.
Right.
We bring the baby's head out, crack it open, suck out the brains, and then take what remains.
Right. It's
Tell them what it
disgusting.
is.
Yeah.
If they showed it on TV, it would be all over.
What I think is interesting about that is we call it partial birth abortion, but yet the argument is it's not really a human until it's born. Well, then why are you partially birthing it to kill it?
Yeah.
It's insanity,
It
Right.
is.
and there's going to be hell to pay for that. As a nation, I'm afraid.
You know, there is a good video. I hope it's okay to promote this. There's a video by Live Action that is an animated video that was created with the guide of a former abortionist who describes in detail what an abortion is. He has several of them. Some of them are first trimester.
What's the name of that
You
series
can look it on YouTube, but
YouTube?
it's Live Action is
Live
the
Action.
group. And the physician is Dr. Tony Levatino, but he's a former late-term abortionist.
Okay.
So he describes late-term abortions as well as early-term abortions, and there is an animated video that they have that goes along with it where you can see inside what's happening. So it's not obviously not an actual abortion, but they created an animation to go with it. And what they are starting to do is go around to college campuses and different public areas just to walk up to people and ask them, what do you think about it? And kind of tell me your views. And they'll kind of state what they know about it, what they think about it. And a lot of times they will say, yeah, I'm pro-choice. And they'll say, do you mind if I?
And when they're finished with them,
Well, yeah, they said, do we have your permission to show this video so you can see what it actually is? And majority of the ones that they've interviewed, they'll within 5 minutes, they've completely changed their views. And most of them will say, I did not know what it was.
Live Action. I'm going to remember that.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to have some more abortion shows. Last season I featured family law and justice. I may have a season where I feature abortion, and I may need you ladies back to discuss parts of Live Action.
You bet.
Another
If that's okay with you
another
guys.
person you should listen to some of his videos as well is Dr. William Lyle. He's a certified OBGYN, and he puts out great videos on what abortion is like and what the procedure is.
You ladies have my email. Please email me that stuff,
Absolutely.
Sure.
okay? Because we need to help educate and inform the public about what's really happening.
Yep.
Because it's the right thing to do, I guess.
Yes. Yes. And I really think most people really are pro-life. They just don't know it. I think if they just knew the actual facts, what the procedure is, most people would right away identify as pro-life. And we as Christians and anybody else who is, whether they're Christian or not, that is pro-life really needs to continue to persevere with educating people, and just, it's overwhelming to think about the society as a whole, but just do it one person at a time. Just do it with the people that are in front of you.
Well, Christianity is under attack too.
Yes,
It's
it is.
not mainstream.
Correct.
I think I think that we have to just get back to our senses.
Mm.
And it's like we departed from common sense. I need to thank you ladies for being on the show, and I must have you back again because I got to get some stuff in Live Action, and I got some. You
Dr.
ladies,
William
you
Lyle.
ladies are going to email me some stuff, and
That's right.
we're going to come back and we're going to do it again, right?
Let's do it
Yeah.
again.
Thank you for having
58
us.
more minutes. No, thank you.
They're really great. Yep.